Firstly, I'd like to thank everyone for joining our webinar today. We are super excited. So this is first in a series of webinars that we're going to be doing specifically for cares. And today we're going to be talking all about resilience. I'm personally super excited to have so many carers with us because that's who for. As a former nurse myself, I know how challenging it can be to make time for important topics like resilience. It's one of those things that you know is important, but it's easy to put off being mindful of because you're so busy with the day-to-day frontline work. Working in domiciliary care can be really, really challenging. It asks a lot and it takes a lot. It takes a lot to keep showing up to care for others. So I hope today you'll get a lot out of this session, which will give you some ideas about how you can help look after yourself so that you can keep taking care of others. A couple of introductions before we get going. I'm Monica Minetti. I'm the head of customer success here at Nursebuddy. I'm going to be your host for today. And with me, I have a fantastic guest who we're really, really excited about. Helen Gruber of Pastora is with us. So a very warm welcome to Helen. Helen has a background in social care. She started out as a carer herself, working in elderly care and with adults with learning disabilities for over 25 years. She became a registered manager in 2006 and then subsequently worked as an operations support manager in services that required improvement, which we know can be quite a challenging task. Helen then stepped away from care at the end of 2021 and has since been focusing on her own well-being and development as a coach and as a trainer. She recently set up Pastora with her business partner, Maryland, who also has a background in care, and together they are helping care and management teams with guidance and support to look after themselves and others, and to do that with grace. Helen and Marilyn are currently working on a 6-module training course for care organizations that are all about team well-being. And we're very lucky to get a short taster of that today in our webinar, which is, again, it's focused on resilience. There will be an opportunity for questions at the end. So how it works, if you want to ask a question, we'll be using the Q&A function here in Google Meet. What that means is you click on the activities icon at the bottom right of your screen. So that's going to look like 3 shapes. Again, the activities icon. And then you choose Q&A, and you can type your question in there. So we'll try and get to as many questions as we can. And like I mentioned before, we're recording this webinar. We're going to send you a link later. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you, Helen.
Thank you, Monica, and thank you all for joining me today. I know you're very busy, so it's great to see so many of you here. So as you know, I'm going to be talking about resilience today. So what is resilience? Well, simply put, resilience is the ability to cope under pressure and recover from difficulties. It's about adapting to challenging experiences, learning and growing from setbacks and challenges, looking for solutions to problems, and keeping a sense of perspective when things go wrong. So as we all do, the other day, I had something go wrong. My phone decided it wasn't going to work. It wouldn't turn on, it wouldn't turn off, and I was just really, really annoyed with it. And I was getting more and more wound up with it. Wanted to throw it out the window like you do. Actually, what I needed to do was get some perspective, step away, and leave it alone for a bit and change how it is. So it's normal for us to get frustrated by things. Resilience is also about taking responsibility for your own behaviour, including your mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes. We just need to look at what happened and rectify the situation, and also ask for help when we need it. Resilience also is about recognising your thoughts and emotions and managing them. It's not about staying strong and persevering no matter what. So pushing through, having a stiff upper lip, biting your tongue, leaving your feelings at the door, counting to 10. It's not any of those things. I know we have to do those things sometimes. And sometimes there's a need to do that. We can't always say what we think. We can't always deal with any of the emotions that come up for us. But doing that consistently is not good for our emotional health and well-being. So as carers, why do you need resilience? Well, it's crucial in your role so you can provide compassionate care. We work with different people and many different personalities. We're not going to get on with everyone and like everyone we work with, but we have to find a way to work with them and be compassionate. We need to be able to handle pressure and unexpected setbacks with more ease. Not easier, because things can't always be easier. I know many of you may work with older people and they pass away. That's never going to get easier for us to work with and deal with the emotions of that. It's never going to get easier, but we can work on how we manage those emotions, how we release those emotions so that we can do it with more ease and we don't build up lots of stress and anxiety around those things. It also will make your work more enjoyable. And by being resilient, you will prioritise your well-being and engage in activities that bring you joy and promote good physical and emotional health. You'll view challenges as opportunities for learning and development as well. So what can you do during a working day to help with building your resilience? So I've come up with some activities that I've done, that I do, that I've tried. Just small things that you can do during your working day to help you. Just stopping and taking a moment is really, really important. So something we all do is breathe. So just stopping and taking a moment, taking a breath in, holding it for 3 or 4 seconds and letting it go. And just doing that 3 or 4 times can really help you to just stop, take a moment and get some perspective. We all feel tension in different places in our bodies, in our jaw, in our shoulders, in our neck. So just having a bit of gentle movement can also really help in the moment. And these couple of things are things that you can do when you're with someone. You might be making a cup of tea for them. So, taking a few deep breaths or doing some gentle movement won't look too strange. So just putting your head down, circling your head round a few times. Just slowly do that 3 or 4 times. And then shoulders, moving your shoulders a bit. Just that gentle movement can help release some of the tension that you're holding. Another thing to remember during your working day is make sure that you have plenty of fluid and food. So always have your water bottle and your snacks ready so that you can keep yourself hydrated and make sure you've got the energy to do what you need to do. In between visits, there's things you can do as well. So you could maybe park a little bit further away from the person's house that you're going to. So you've got a bit further to walk just so that you can get some fresh air between those visits. Another thing that I like to do is use music. So I like to play songs to help me release my emotions, change my energy in between different things that I do. So I'm known at work for using the song Shake It Off by Taylor Swift. So some days can be quite challenging and I can get frustrated, and whether it's with people I've been speaking to, whether it's with the computer or just something I'm working on. So I can step away for a moment, put on the song, have a dance, shake it off, as the song says, and it will change my energy and it will make me feel different and make it possible for me to do the next thing that I need to do. So finding a song that you like, that works for you, depending on what you need to work on, what emotions coming up for you. You might need to put a sad song on because you might need to release some emotions about something that's been challenging for you, and someone might have died and you're really sad about that and you need to have a good cry before you move on to the next person that you see. Or you might just be needing a song that's really upbeat and got a really good rhythm to it. So just stamp your feet, shake your arms, whatever it is, just to release some of those emotions. Other things to do during your working day is have a little chat in between calls with someone that brings you joy. So that might be checking in with somebody at home who you can just have a brief conversation with, who makes you smile, who cheers you up. Having a buddy as well at work is really, really good for you. Having another carer who you can talk to, who you can message when things are difficult for you, really, really beneficial. You know, just being able to talk to someone else that understands what's going on can really help. Another activity that you can do, again, in your car, if you've got a notepad and a pen, just writing. Just write whatever is in your head. So whatever comes out, just write it, because it helps to just clear your head a bit. You don't have to reread it. You can just rip it up and throw it away. But it just helps clear your mind and changes how you are in that moment. And always remember that there's help there. I know it can be quite lonely for you because you can be working on your own, going from place to place, but I know that there are people you can ask for help from. So always think about that too. So recovering from a tough day of work so that you're ready for the next day. What do you do? How do you replenish yourself? What energizes you and brings you joy? It's different for all of us. But building your resilience, it's really helpful if you can look at what energizes you and what brings you joy and bring that into your life outside of work. So it might be going for a run, going for a swim, going to yoga, watching a film, having a bath, reading a book. There's lots and lots of things that might replenish your energy. It's different from all of us, and it can be different from day to day. But just try different things and see what works for you. Some days, you know, I understand you'll probably get home and all you want to do is just sit on the sofa and watch TV. And that's fine. And that can really help and might make you feel better, might energize you. But sometimes if we do that all the time, it has the opposite effect. And it doesn't make you feel better. It doesn't bring you joy. It just makes you feel less energized. So just consider what it is that might bring you joy. So building resilience. How can you build resilience? It's about self-awareness. It's about recognizing and acknowledging your emotions, understanding it's normal to feel a range of emotions, including stress, frustration, and empathy. So take some time to think, feel, hear, and see. You won't be able to do that in every moment in your working day. So one of the things that I would suggest you do when something triggers you, take a moment, and what I do is I put it in a box, in an imaginary box. So I've had this moment and I'm feeling a little bit frustrated by something, but I can't deal with that right now. I have to just get on with the job I'm doing. So I just put that thought or feeling into a box and come back to it later. So instead of just building up all those feelings and just pushing them down and never letting them out, I'm putting it in a box and I'm going to bring it out later and I'm going to work through what's going on for me so that I can get more understanding and work out what I can do differently next time. So questions to ask would be, what triggered you? Why did it trigger you? What was your response? How could you respond differently next time? And do you need to ask for support? So something simple. For example, I get home from work at the end of the day, the house is full of people that have been around for some time and the dishwasher hasn't been emptied. And I'm like, oh, why haven't you emptied the dishwasher? And you get annoyed with the people there. Why haven't you emptied the dishwasher? What have you been doing all day? And you're really frustrated by all of those things. It might not actually be about the dishwasher. It might be things that have happened to you throughout the day and that you've built up all those emotions. So you need to take a moment and think about what it is that triggered you and how you can do things differently, or what might support you to respond differently in the future. So the more you're processing your thoughts and feelings and finding ways to manage them, the less you're biting your tongue, counting to 10, putting a smile in your face and pretending everything's okay. And the more that you will feel energized and enjoy what you're doing. And once you can do this and build up your resilience, the impact on the people that you care for is huge, because you will have greater self-awareness, better understanding of others, better decision-making skills, better physical and mental health. And hopefully you will enjoy your job. So one thing from today you take away is, please remember, as a carer, you need to care for yourself as well as the others around you. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you enjoyed.
Thank you so much, Helen. Yeah, it's really, really important reminders. I think where this kind of grin and bear it mindset is, as healthcare workers, as caregivers, where that's kind of something that is just ingrained on us. I mean, I remember in nursing school, that's pretty much what we were taught. And we know how burnt out nurses get. They leave the profession, and the same applies to anybody that's working on the front line of care. And I think what's really important and really interesting about some of the points that you raised are, something like putting on a song, in between visits in the car and cranking it up at full volume. Those might be things that we do anyway, but we might just think they're like silly little things, and we don't put emphasis on how actually important they are for our resilience and for our well-being and how much they're needed. So they're not, blasting Taylor Swift is not just a silly little thing. It's really part of a coping mechanism, a healthy coping mechanism, and it helps you build resilience. So making those little things that we take for granted a priority as part of maintaining our well-being, I think it's really important that we're highlighting that and that we're talking about that, because those are ways that we all cope, and they are healthy. And I'm grateful, Helen, that you make us all feel quite normal for needing to just blast some tunes and sing along sometimes to, like you said, get out of that mindset. I'm just going to remind everyone that the little activities button at the bottom corner with the little shapes is where you can post your questions. And we'll be getting to them in just a moment. I do have a follow-up question for you while our audience is typing their questions in here. I'm wondering, do you have any advice on how carers can ask their managers for support with resilience? Because like you said, asking for support is super, super important. This can sometimes be a difficult topic to breach, because our resilience is always put at the bottom of the list of priorities. But if a carer wanted to bring this up with their manager and raise what an important part of their well-being and ability to be a caregiver it is, how would they go about doing that?
Okay. So yeah, it is really important. And I know carers are potentially going, how do I do that? How do I talk to my manager? One, remember they're human. They have these experiences too, these frustrations. But I understand. And I think taking a moment and thinking about it before you do it. Sometimes, things are frustrating, things are annoying you don't like how things are. And if you go straight to a manager and start just going, I'm not happy with this, this, and this, you don't get the response that you would like, because you've put them on the back foot and you've put them in the defensive mode. So I think one of the things that's really important is thinking about what is going on for you, and what support do you need, and just being really clear about that. Sometimes also, if you can, and you might not be able to, but if you can, make an appointment to talk to your manager, even if it's just sending them a message now saying, I need to talk to you for 5 minutes, when are you free? Because actually then you will get their attention more. Whereas if you've just phoned them up straight away, they are potentially doing something else, and they won't give you their full attention either, and are on the back foot, basically. I mean, there's times when, don't get me wrong, you know, you need to just phone your manager, you need to talk to them, they need to listen to you, they need to support you, and they will. But I do find that, you know, if you can just take a moment and plan that time, then you can both be really listening to what's going on and find a way forward with whatever is happening for you.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I liked your comment about phrasing it as well, because sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment and you're really frustrated, it's hard to actually understand, even for yourself sometimes, what is really the problem here. So I think it's quite helpful to put it into I statements and I feel, because when you're expressing later in a calm way how a situation made you feel and the impact that it had on you, that's much more easier for a manager to relate to, because like you said, they are human and they can put themselves in your shoes, and nobody can argue with how you feel in a situation. So sometimes putting it into these I statements, or I feel this way, can also help frame a discussion in a really productive way. So just a reminder, if you do have a question, the bottom right corner, the activities button, there's 3 shapes. If you click on there, you'll be able to, there's a button to ask a question, and you can just type your question in there. I wanted to just ask one more thing. We still have some time. If somebody were to start, you know, putting some of these practices in place, you know, even just like that step back from the moment and recognizing how you feel and putting a name to those emotions, starting that kind of awareness and resilience process, how long would it take somebody to notice a change or improvement in their resilience? If you know, they started to do some of the things that you've mentioned today.
I think some of those things can be really quick, you know, because just in the moment you can feel different if you start doing those things. And like I said, just small activities, one thing at a time. Even if every time something triggers you, you just stop and take some deep breaths, and take some moments. Just one of those things, you will start feeling a difference fairly quickly. So it is just about repeating what you're doing, trying different things, but not trying to do everything. You know, when you try and do everything, it can become overwhelming, but just trying one thing at a time and just doing it consistently. I think, you know, within a few days you'll start noticing a difference if that's what you do.
Absolutely. Yeah, baby steps. So even if it's just one little thing at the time that you can then build on, you got to start somewhere. Thanks, Helen. I'm just going to go over to Pauline, who has a question, I think, about other coworkers, which can oftentimes be a source of frustration for all of us. And Pauline asks, how can I cope with other staff members who are not doing their job correctly, or 100%, or giving 100% for all the client calls? This can be super frustrating, and it also is something that you don't have much direct control over yourself. So what would be a way, Helen, that you could manage that type of frustration?
So absolutely, you're right. We work with different people and we can all frustrate each other for sure. I really think it's really important to have open communication with the people you work with. But also it's taking that moment to process how they've made you feel, so that you can talk to them like you would your manager. This is what happened. This is how I feel. Or could you do this? You know, checking in with them. How are you doing? What's going on for you right now? Because sometimes when your colleague is not maybe responding 100%. Something's going on for them, and they just need someone to check in with them and ask if they're okay. And yeah, absolutely, it's not fully your responsibility to get them to work how they should be working, but actually checking in with each other can be really helpful. And you get to know people and find out what's going on for them. You might be able to guide them and things that can help them. And they might then feel more comfortable to tell you if they don't know how to do something, because it might be they don't know how to do.
Oh, Helen, I'm not sure if you're breaking up for everyone or just for me, but we lost you there for a second.
Sorry. Yeah, so can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Cool. So that's one of the things you can do. And then obviously talking to your line manager as well, sharing that with them. And again, in the I statements, this is what's going on for me, this is how I'm feeling, without just go into them and complaining about someone, although they never do this and they don't do that and all of those other things. But I definitely think by being open and honest with the people you work with can be really, really helpful.
Absolutely.
And it takes time. And it takes confidence to do that. I get that, especially when you want to go and talk to your colleague about something that they're not quite doing right or they're not doing at all. Yeah. They may be quite defensive in their response to you, but it's also about you just understanding that that's how they may respond to start with, but don't give up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It goes back to that framing of it. And, if you go to somebody with, oh, you didn't do this, or you didn't do that, or you're not good at your job, or you're forgetful, that can put somebody in defensive mode right away. Whereas if you approach it with this, when this happens, this is how it affects me. So when you don't do something at the visit before, I come there and then it takes me 20 minutes longer and I'm late for my next client. So explaining the impact on you and how it makes you feel and how it affects you can sometimes help to put it in a really helpful perspective for them, because they didn't realize it was the impact that it was having on you. So anytime you're approaching those conversations, try and, instead of blaming, turn the focus to how you're affected, and the impact of how it makes you feel. That's one way that's really helpful for approaching those conversations with your colleagues. I think we are just about out of time here. I don't want to keep anybody over. And I just want to have a chance to wrap up here. This was a great discussion. I found it really helpful, and this is really just a teaser into the topic of resilience, and just to get people thinking about it. This is not something that is talked about a lot for frontline workers. It was kind of talked about over the pandemic and then quickly went out of fashion. So we really want to keep this in people's minds, because delivering care is always going to come with the same challenges. So this is, again, the first in a series of webinars that we're going to be doing specifically for carers. And we're just really, really happy to have you all here today and to connect with you directly. And yeah, I want to thank Helen, just incredible source of knowledge. And if you'd like to know more about Helen's coaching and training, you can go over to pastora.co.uk. That's pastora.co.uk, and you can find out more information about more of Helen's sessions, and she will definitely be back with us on future webinars. So that's all from me. Thank you so much to everyone for joining, and we will see you on the next one. Have a great rest of the